What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Final Whistle. My name is Nathan. I'm here with JJ filling in for Danny today and more than likely next week as Danny is going on the greatest spring break trip of all time. He told me he's going to the fabulous Sin City, Las Vegas, Nevada. Gotta love it. He's gonna be a gambling man down there. So have a blast down there, Danny. Maybe he'll come in. Who knows? But JJ is gonna be filling in for Danny for today and more than likely both days next week. Maybe we'll have some special guests. But overall, Danny and I have been complaining. There hasn't been a lot to talk about in the football atmosphere. It's been a very slow kind of off season so far. Sometimes you're seeing this legal tampering happening illegally. We had the whole Kirk Cousins debacle last year. The Falcons got in trouble for that. But then he still signed there. You see that is coming up, though. Legal tampering. I think that's this weekend. March
This
12th.
Monday.
Yep. March 12th is officially the start of NFL free agency. It is currently the 7th. And who would have known since our last Final Whistle episode, since we couldn't do it on Tuesday, last Friday, we have had about in the last week millions upon millions, what it feels like, story after story in the NFL world. So we are going to start with the NFL, rumors, everything that has happened. Then we are going to get into the chaos of the NHL trade deadline at the end of our show, and then a little tidbit in the NBA that sucks to see, especially if you're a Dallas Mavericks fan for the last couple weeks. But overall, let's start with the big news being the Raiders have extended Max Crosby to a 3-year, $106,500,000 extension, $91.5 million guaranteed, making him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history, by the way. For the third time in 4 years, Adam Schefter says the Raiders are addressing the contract of their cornerstone player, this time cementing his relationship with the Raiders for the foreseeable future. And then his agents were the one to negotiate this. Pete Carroll, first year as Raiders head coach. He cements Max Crosby in there for at least 3 years. This is a team looking for a quarterback soon, and now Max Crosby is the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. And what this does for me, JJ, what I'm worried here, Max Crosby has officially cemented the outside linebacker market. TJ Watt is going to be a free agent soon coming up, so Steelers fans are starting to get nervous about that. We'll get to Trey Hendrickson later. Max Crosby has officially made the market a little bit wacky, especially 3 years, $106.5 million, 91.5 guaranteed. Let's hear your thoughts. What do you got?
One more can I say? I mean, you want to talk about a game wrecker, an absolute destroyer. That is what Max Crosby has been for the majority of his career. I mean, last year was not his greatest season, but he is a guy that you absolutely have to pay him the big bucks. He's got 59 and a half total sacks in pretty sure a 6-year career, 6-year career. He's been more than exceptional, and he is the type of guy that you start a franchise with.
Yep.
And I'm very happy that he got his bag.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. Max Crosby, this is a guy that I thought could have been in the trade rumors last year. I know a lot of Detroit Lions fans were hoping for Max Crosby. They settled with Zadarius Smith, I think it was, which wasn't bad, but the Lions were just gifted a bad card with the Aiden Hutchinson injury that they lost him for the rest of the year. But Max Crosby would have fit very well in Detroit, but I think he fits really well, especially in Las Vegas. He is basically the franchise player, barring any crazy quarterback that comes in the draft. But I'm very happy that the Raiders have did this. Now, what I'm not happy about is the inner Steeler fan in me saying, what's this mean for TJ Watt in a couple years? Because like I said before we got into this, Max Crosby getting this much money, what this does, we see it in baseball, we see it in hockey, NBA. Players in the same position are going to use this value for Max Crosby. TJ Watt, for example, just to use him, is going to use this say, I've had a better career than Max Crosby. I should be getting maybe a 98 million guaranteed or 100 million guaranteed. I should be getting the $150 million extension, not 106.5 million. So what this has done is Max Crosby, in not even his fault, has kind of broken the outside linebacker market, the inside linebacker market, all of those. And defensive players, well-deserved, are going to get paid a lot more money that they should have been getting for a very long time. Other than that, I mean, I think this is a great deal. I think it's good. Do you have anything else to add with this?
I think that this is exactly what needed to get done. I mean, there's really nothing more to say. I'm very happy as a defensive guy myself that my defensive players are finally, and I mean finally, starting to get their bags. And if I'm a Steelers fan, I'd be very concerned because Mount TJ Watt is going to erupt eventually. And
Yeah, I'm happy they at least did the extension when it happened. He's set to be a free agent in 2026, so hopefully an extension is done sooner rather than later. But this is huge. This is huge news for Max Crosby. Good for him. And that goes into our other news. Speaking of defenders in the world of football today, one of the better ones. He's younger too. He's had a lot of injury concerns, but a star in the NFL today, and a star of the New York Jets for about half of a season. They were both released. Let's get into Joey Bosa and Davante Adams being the newest NFL free agents. This came out on March 5th, 2 days ago. Joey Bosa was released. And on March 4th, the day before, Davante Adams was released. So what this does as well is, like I said, the linebacker market is going to be boosted with Joey Bosa now. Joey Bosa is going to look at this Max Crosby thing and say, you know what? I know I've had injury concerns, but I'm a star as well. I can be on Max Crosby's level. I can be a guy that is in the deep point running. And I'll add this about Max Crosby very quick. This is a guy that is always going to be in the deep point running, and I wouldn't be shocked if he wins it in the next 3 years. But what I see with this Joey Bosa news, I think this is going to make the market for him a little bit iffy. He's going to look at this and want a lot of money. And then Davante Adams, of course. I just want to ask you, you're a Rams fan, but you're in the New York area. What is the vibes? What happened with Davante Adams in New York? Like, what is everyone saying with this?
That's a loaded question, man. There's been a lot going on in this state. But like, as you can see, like, I've got the Met hat on, I got the SNY backdrop. So like, I'm all New York stuff mainly. There has just been a vibe of just absolute chaos, anarchy. Jet fans are losing their minds over this. The butt fumble of butt to end all butt fumbles was the 2024 season for this football team. I mean, it was just an absolute train wreck. Literally everything that could have gone wrong went wrong for that team. And it bothers me to say this because I actually had faith in this team to go far. Yet they crapped themselves worse than I think any Jets team has ever done it before. So not the greatest look for them. And they only gave up a third rounder for Davante Adams, so it's really not that bad. But, I mean, then again, you're going to cut him after one season? Like, maybe you probably shouldn't have made the move in the first place.
And they're also looking to move on from Aaron Rodgers. So I feel like this Jets team has completely failed. It's one of my least favorite football teams to follow. I don't have a reason to hate them. It's just the fact they've blown opportunity after opportunity. It's very predictable. I think about the Brooklyn Nets, too. They blew that big three opportunity when they had a Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. It didn't work. Now look at all those guys. When you're looking at Davante Adams now, he is listed on Spot Track as the top free agent available. His previous value, $28 million. Joey Bosa is the third best free agent available. His projected value from previous value, that is $20.180 million. These two guys are going to be headlining the market, and I wouldn't be surprised if they get signed really quick. And you're looking at teams that need a lot. I think of the Buffalo Bills. Are the Buffalo Bills not a perfect opportunity, at least honestly, for Joey Bosa? I think they should be all over at Joey Bosa because they need help getting at the quarterback. That is the one thing they haven't been able to do to beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. They need help on the outside interior linebacker position. And they also need help on the wide receiver room too, because they don't have a solid veteran. It's a lot of younger guys. And how much do you think Josh Allen would kill to have a veteran wide receiver and a Davante Adams and not Stephon Diggs as he's the second best, but maybe like a Chris Godwin and Amari Cooper, maybe reunion, Keenan Allen, some type of top wide receiver, which we'll get to in a bit. But overall, like, what's your thoughts on this Joey Bosa news? Because that came out of nowhere from me.
I saw this thing coming with Joey Bosa. His cap hit's ridiculous. He can't play a full season, and the Chargers have been trying to get. I feel like the Chargers have been trying to move on from him for a long time. So now I'm finally seeing this come into play, and it's finally a call to action. Like, listen, you're a legend on this team, but your production just does not cut it anymore. Get the F out. It's basically like what they've done. Like, thanks for your service, but get out. He's just too old. And you mentioned the Buffalo Bills. It pains me to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. There's only one team that's going to go after Joey Bosa, and that's the San Francisco 49ers.
I could see that one as well. I could also see for some reason Philadelphia
Oh my God.
because
Imagine.
and which teams everyone connecting to the Myles Garrett stuff? Philadelphia. They seem Myles Garrett wants to win now. And this happened a couple weeks ago. This comes out and he's yet to be traded. I would think it's coming soon. I don't see Myles Garrett as a guy to hold out, but he's physically, mentally said to the world he doesn't want to be a Cleveland Brown. So I wouldn't be surprised if a team that's winning now, I'm thinking of it, and the best fit, honestly, is Philadelphia. They would kill to have him. Imagine that line with like a Jalen Carter, and you add Myles Garrett to that. But this Joey Bosa stuff, I like the Bills as a fit. I completely get where you're going with the 49ers fit. That would help that defense a lot. It had a rough year. The Niners were just cursed with injuries. Danny and I have said this all year long. That team should have been better than what they were. Cursed with injuries basically the entire season. But when you're thinking about it, these two players are going to be huge free agents. Spot Track has them as the number 1 free agent in Davante Adams, the number 3 guy in Joey Bosa. Do you have anything else to add before we move on to the big trade rumors, trade requests?
If I really hope Joey Bosa does not go to the 49ers because I would be very upset. But I feel like the one suitor that no one's really talked about for Davante Adams is shockingly the Dallas Cowboys.
Ooh, I kind of like that actually. Imagine CeeDee Lamb getting help, but here's the thing that worries me about that.
Or because he said he wants to play on the West Coast. I know I've been fantasizing Davante Adams in a Rams jersey, and I found it ironic that the Rams gave up $17 million and got $17 million in cap when Adams got cut in the same day. But I think the real suitor for him, and by the way, Evan Ingram has officially been released. So breaking news coming out of Jacksonville, Florida.
Yep.
So that's confirmed. The thing with Adams that a lot of people haven't mentioned yet is he said he wants to play on the West Coast. He said he wants to play on a decent team. What about Liquid LA? What about the Chargers? Justin Herbert would kill to have a receiver like that.
I think Harbaugh would be all over having a Davante Adams on the team.
100%. No doubt in my mind.
And you brought up the Rams too. I'd be curious at crazy world. They've said they wanted to trade Cooper Kupp, but imagine they trade him away and then bring in Davante Adams. Like, what does that really do? You just brought in another major contract.
I would not like that. If you could somehow get all 3, power to you. That'd be amazing. Give us a Super Bowl. But it doesn't work like that. So
sadly not. As in the world of Steelers fans, we like to fantasize random players. Like every receiver that is available. I've seen Davante Adams edits. I've seen Stephon Diggs edits, Chris Godwin. I've seen them all. But whenever I'm looking, you brought up the Evan Ingram stuff. I saw a bunch of rumors on Twitter yesterday about that was going to happen. So there's a very solid tight end on the market right now for teams. I'm thinking Denver for some reason. New Orleans could be a spot. But you brought up Joey Bosa as well. He is 29 years old, going to be turning 30 pretty soon. And his big thing is the injuries. And that's what I think could drive his value down. But speaking in the position group of Joey Bosa, news came out yesterday around 3:16 p.m. The Bengals, for some reason, they finally have done it. Trey Hendrickson has been allowed to request a trade. Trey Hendrickson is what should have been in higher DPOY conversations. I think he got second place. I think he was also the sack leader past year. The Bengals, is from Adam Schefter. The Bengals have taken the rare step of granting All-Pro defensive end Trey Hendrickson permission to seek a trade. The quote is, "It's been an honor and privilege to represent Cincinnati over the last 4 years," said Hendrickson, the NFL sack leader. "I love this city and organization. I appreciate the privilege of now being allowed to explore my options." Dan Orlovsky commented, "What the heck is Cincy doing?" on that.
I agree. What are they doing?
They also gave T. Higgins the franchise tag, by the way. So T. Higgins probably not happy about that, but I don't think he's available right now.
Let me stop you for a quick second. I want to rant about something. Please need the franchise tag. The way that they handle it nowadays is just a complete abuse. Want to know why? There's no limit on how many times you can franchise tag somebody.
Yeah.
You can franchise tag somebody a whole 10-year contract. It'll just keep going up and 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 up. There needs to be a rule where you cannot franchise tag players in back-to-back years. Because basically, T. Higgins, in my opinion, is the Brian Reynolds of the NFL. Basically, is being held hostage locked up in chains because his team refused to let him go. Like, that's how I feel about Brian Reynolds. Every time he hits a home run, he's basically locked up in chains as he's
he was
trotting around the
extended.
bases.
He accepted a contract.
Even worse. That poor dude.
Most underrated player in all of baseball.
100%. The Pirates are developing, though. But T. Higgins, he wants a big contract. He wants to play somewhere else. Yet you have this man locked up in chains. He's stuck.
Yeah.
He's handcuffed to your team.
I think this franchise tag thing, I completely agree. I think you should only, each player,
one
franchise tag. That's it. And it should always be used. Teams should be saving it for the year they're looking to extend these guys. Maybe the year before they become a free agent. I think that's when it should be used. It should be used as a 1-year extension. It shouldn't happen whenever the player is set to become a free agent and he wants to explore his options. If that's the case, it should be a mutual agreement. And T. Higgins should have said, you know what? Let's franchise tag me. Screw it. I'm going to do a prove it year. I'm going to drive my value up. So as of now, this has taken T. Higgins off the free agent market, and he was the top receiver available, but now it's Davante Adams and Stephon Diggs. You take T. Higgins out of that, that is one less target available for people. But Trey Hendrickson being available to request a trade, are the Bengals going to keep him? Because now we went from, I remember watching on Hard Knocks, it was brought up about, I think it was Trey Hendrickson. No, it was on Pat McAfee's show. Trey Hendrickson was getting interviewed during one, I think it was like the honors or whatever, they were wherever they were at. They were bringing up how the AFC North has crazy good pass rushers. TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith on the Steelers, Trey Hendrickson on the Bengals. He brought up Kyle Van Noy of the Ravens. He brought up Myles Garrett of the Cleveland Browns. 2 of those guys have requested trades now. The AFC North is a gauntlet of a division. Any of those teams could be good if they really wanted to. I know the Browns had a very subpar of the year, but we've seen it in the past. They come out of nowhere. The Bengals can do it as well. They messed up. They wasted Joe Burrow this year. They wasted an MVP caliber season because of that defense. The Bengals defense is already bad enough, and now you're getting rid of and you're letting Trey Hendrickson, who led the NFL in freaking sacks, you're saying you can be traded if you really want to. We'll let you explore the options. Now, here's the thing with this. It's Trey Hendrickson. I don't understand how these trade requests happen because they've allowed Trey Hendrickson permission to seek a trade. Is Trey Hendrickson the one leading these trade rumors or trade talks, his team? Or that should be the Bengals' job, shouldn't it? Because Danny and I have gone on rant after rant, especially during the Jamar Chase sitcom that happened last offseason of these guys requesting trades, but it's
don't
the team
remind me. That was brutal.
It was brutal.
That was hard to watch.
Now, where is the fit for Trey Hendrickson? Do you have maybe 2 or 3 picks? Like, where do you think this lands? Because then we got to get to another guy that requested a trade this week.
Honestly, I feel like there's options, but I'm not dead set on where I think he'll go. The thing that I'm a little bit concerned about is the fact that you're dealing with a guy that is, again, just like Crosby, an absolute game wrecker. Now you're basically trading away your best defensive player when, correct me if I'm wrong, what's the number one thing the Bengals need more than anything?
Defense.
A defense.
It blew so many games for them last year. They wasted a triple crown of Jamar Chase, an MVP caliber season of Joe Burrow. I watched it as a Steelers fan. It was embarrassing to watch for the Bengals perspective. If you're a Bengals fan, you should be embarrassed. This franchise makes no sense. In the last week, they have franchise tagged T. Higgins, wide receiver 2.
And then never have done that.
Yeah, and then what this is. Trey Hendrickson requests a trade. So you're losing at least one of those great players this year.
So that makes me ask the question, and pardon my French, but Bengals fans, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? You're destroying your team.
I don't know what they're doing. It makes no sense.
That has me thinking Jamar Chase is going to ask for at least $35 million a year. I forgot Jamar Chase is getting a new extension next year. Oh, yeah. God.
The Bengals are kind of making no sense right now. Joe Burrow has to be thinking, what is going on?
The Bengals have officially become the Bungles again.
And the best defender available right now is Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Harold Landry. Those are the 3 best defenders in free agency based off Spot Track, outside linebackers. They would replace Trey Hendrickson, but those are not players on Trey Hendrickson's level at all.
The only player that is on Trey Hendrickson's level is Myles Garrett.
Literally
he-
everyone in the AFC North. Garrett,
But
TJ
here's
Watt,
the thing.
all those guys.
Here's the thing. If you think for a second that the Cleveland Browns are going to show sympathy to you because you want to get rid of your best defender, the rival that you have been torching forever, the one that continues to just get in your head. Do you want to know what Jimmy Haslam is going to say to Zach Taylor and the Bengals organization?
Huh.
In the words of Cody Rhodes, go fuck yourself.
Man, the state of Ohio is in shambles right now for these football teams. The
All they
Ohio
got
State
to
Buckeyes
all
were
they
their
have to
team.
say.
Sorry about that.
I'm wearing a Notre Dame blanket, by the way.
Tough.
I know.
But man, this Trey Hendrickson news sucks to see because I kind of saw Trey Hendrickson as a career Bengal.
Yeah.
He
And that
seemed
makes
like
me ask the question because I did say I watched him ball out in the Super Bowl, and I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And then next thing you know, I'm like, oh, that's Trey Hendrickson. He's been an absolute shit wrecker. But that makes me beg the question. Garrett wants a trade. Hendrickson wants a trade. When is TJ Watt going to get tired of the losing in Pittsburgh?
man,
When is TJ Watt going to request a trade, if ever?
Is it sad? As a fan of the Steelers, I don't think he cares about the losing or winning. He's just stat packing awards at this point.
It's
the same with Cam Hayward. Cam Hayward just signed an extension. He had one of the best defensive tackle seasons of the year.
Is he like 38?
Yeah, which is crazy. How old he is. He had an amazing year this year. Like TJ Watt is going to be due for an extension soon. He's a free agent next season, 2026. And like I brought up with Max Crosby, his getting that $106 million deal is going to drive up the price for TJ Watt, a Trey Hendrickson extension, a Myles Garrett extension when he wants that. Maybe that's what keeps him in Cleveland if they break the bank on that. But moving on, closing thoughts, I'll just give a quick prediction here before we move on. Trey Hendrickson, I know I brought up the Bills with Joey Bosa. For some reason, I think they'll go more crazy with Trey Hendrickson. Fits the Bills mold.
Trey Hendrickson, where the hell is he going to go? To me, there's only one answer, and it's the team that needs an edge rusher more than anybody, the Atlanta Falcons.
Ooh, I like that.
Or the Colts.
That's another sneaky good one. One of those random wild card teams. Moving on to the other guy who requested a trade this week. This is more of the skill positions that a lot of teams are looking for. It's a very wide receiver heavy market. And just like that, the trade market is going to get a lot more crazy. DK Metcalf has requested a trade. Basically, one of the best wide receivers the Seahawks have had. This happened on yesterday at 1:19 p.m. It gets reported by Adam Schefter. The request came that day after a series of conversation over the past 2 weeks. Metcalf prefers a contender. He wants to be in the playoffs. The Seahawks did not have a great year for their standards last year. DK, and I know you're waving goodbye because he's looking to be out of your division.
Get the hell out of the NFC.
DK Metcalf, man, I don't know why. I've been seeing a lot of people making this kind of dream thing with the Patriots.
I've seen it too.
And that the only reason is the Patriots could land a Travis Hunter. And imagine they do that, get Drake May, another star, and DK Metcalf, or Devontae Adams, who knows. But imagine it's DK Metcalf, Travis Hunter in New England. I think that, and here's Braden gives his prediction: Eagles to Trey Hendrickson, Joey Bosa, Niners, Myles Garrett, Bills.
Shout out the greatest New York Giants fan of all time, Braden Gonzalez.
And the best part about this is we predicted all three of those teams, but for different players.
Braden, you know damn well that's not your prediction. You want to know what his real predictions are? Trey Hendrickson, Giant. Joey Bosa, Giant. Myles Garrett, Giant.
No, whenever I look at this DK Metcalf news, there's a few teams that stick out. I'm thinking playoff teams, and I'll get to mine in a bit, but I want to hear your thoughts about this DK Metcalf news because this is a big thing for Seattle. Like, are they actually going to do that? Are they going to hold him hostage, or is he going to hold out if he doesn't get traded? What do you think?
DK Metcalf, the Antonio Brown of the NFC is what I like to call him because he was one of the biggest divas and cancers I've ever seen play in the NFL. I kid you not, and this is just me going on a rant about DK.
Go ahead.
This dude would talk the absolute most garbage and then get smacked in the face. And then you want to know what he would do after the whistle? He would basically just Hulk up and just throw people on the floor for no reason after the whistle. He did that almost every game. And it was so easy to get in his head. And honestly, I very well could see DK Metcalf going to the Patriots. But I think you had a mistake on which guy the Patriots would draft, because if you really want to get Drake May at the best options possible, you draft Tedderall McMillan out of Arizona.
Yeah.
He can catch literally anything you throw his way.
Yeah.
I've seen the Mike Evans comparisons. I don't know if you have, but that's what I've seen. I've seen the Mike Evans comparisons.
McMillan's nice. One of the best things from Arizona all year.
He's fucking beautiful.
But anyway, I think Travis Hunter's going before him.
I don't think that would make sense. DK is a Patriot or a Charger. Honestly, DK or Devontae Adams, the Chargers will get one of them. I think the Patriots will get the other.
So I'm looking at the comments on this ESPN post the other day. These are the most popular options that I'm seeing. Patriots, Chargers, and I hate to say it, the Texans and Steelers. Those are the four.
Oh, my God. I can see it. I can see it now. DK Metcalf to the Steelers.
And
add him to the collection.
And they were talking on Sports Talk about this. And Braden says Patriot or Chargers. I honestly agree with that. Yeah. And I think with the Steelers fit, what people think, and I heard this hypothetical trade on the airwaves of the radio station here in Pittsburgh. I usually don't like it, what they say, but honestly, this makes a lot of sense because people in the national media have proposed this on like writing pieces. Steelers fans are very mixed on George Pickens for some reason. I think he's a fine receiver. They need to keep him. He's the better receiver they have. Imagine the Steelers and Seahawks do a 1-for-1 special. Pickens for DK.
One diva for another.
That's the thing. Like, Steelers fans want to replace George Pickens so bad, but they want to bring in DK Metcalf. Like, every receiver, I'm not even kidding, JJ. Every receiver that hits the market, Danny and I have talked about this for months now. This is like years I've known him. Every receiver that hits the market ever since Brandon Ayuk, everyone says, Steeler. They're going to be a Steeler. It has to be a Steeler. Devontae Adams has been hinted at the Steelers. Cooper Kupp's been a Steeler for a month. Brandon Ayuk was a Steeler all last summer, and now it's DK Metcalf. Honestly, though, I think this could be a fit. Will it happen? No, it will not happen. I think the Chargers are a perfect fit for DK Metcalf because he gives me the vibes as someone that does want to stay on the West Coast. And the Chargers have a great quarterback situation, in my opinion, with Justin Herbert. I think he'd rather play with Herbert than a Drake May, than a rookie guy coming off a rookie year. I think he'd rather play with Justin Herbert, honestly, than CJ Stroud. That might be a hot take. But he would fit with the Texans, though. He'd be a great fit with them.
I'll tell you one thing, though. There's only one reason that DK Metcalf could potentially be a Steeler. You got to complete the gauntlet, man. You got Antonio Brown, Juju, Claypool, Deontay, Pickens. That's 5. You only need one more diva to complete the Steelers Diva Infinity Gauntlet.
Man,
and DK's the final stone.
And you know what? We talked about with urinating tree, man.
Shout out to urinating tree for
and the spike that causes this is Tree and I tried getting this into Danny's system. Mike Tomlin is a player's coach. It is not Tomlin's fault.
It makes so much sense because DK had beef with Pete Carroll. It makes so much sense now.
Do you wonder why Brandon Ayuk wanted to play on the Steelers? You ever wonder why Deebo Samuel was offered giving the thought of going to the Steelers? Because Mike Tomlin lets him do stuff.
Yeah, and Kyle Shanahan hated Ayuk's guts for a while.
Tomlin, don't get me wrong, is a great coach, but the Steelers need to, I don't want to turn this into Tomlin rant, but they need to move on. Every other coach of playoff teams that haven't won a playoff game since 16 or 17 have been fired. And I loved this quote on this Steeler radio station here in Pittsburgh. The Patriots were able to move on from Bill Belichick. The Seahawks were able to move on from Pete Carroll. The Packers moved on from Mike McCarthy. The Eagles moved on from Andy freaking Reid. Come on. But yeah, DK Metcalf Where is he going to go? I do like the Chargers fit. I really, for some reason, love the Patriots fit. And honestly, if the Steelers want him, I wouldn't hate it. But here's the thing. The Steelers have more bigger concerns of who's going to be the freaking quarterback because they don't know. No one knows. Is it Justin Fields? Is it Russell Wilson? Is it going to be a rookie? Are they going to take a bridge year? Are they going to sign flipping Sam Darnold, which I do not want? But I don't want to get on a Steelers tangent. Let's get to any final thoughts on DK before we move on.
Kirk Cousins and DK Metcalf, Steelers going to 9-8 bowl.
Man, I have a bad feeling. I actually have I have put this into Danny's head, and he
I'm
won't
kidding.
listen to me.
I'm kidding. DK's probably gonna be a Charger.
And may I say this? I'm gonna put this out on the internet, and I told this a tree too. And he's like, "Please shut up."
Oh no!
I have a bad vibe that the Steelers are gonna get a deal done with Kirk Cousins because you know what's gonna happen? The Falcons are gonna eat a majority of the contract, just like the Broncos did, eating up all of Russell Wilson's money, and they're gonna do that with Kirk Cousins. Honestly, though, Kirk Cousins, a veteran, sure. But, man, the Steelers need to get a younger QB in here. I would love Justin Fields as the gap year. But moving on to a guy that actually was traded and the Steelers fans can stop fantasizing about. Deebo Samuel is a Washington Commander. I kind of like this move. Deebo Samuel had an off year. He's out of your division. I know you're happy about that. I think it was for a fifth round pick.
I despise this man. Despised him. What Deebo Samuel did to the Rams in some of these games, he could have games where he's putting up less than 70 yards, maybe 60 yards or 50 yards. When he plays against the Rams, you don't bet 1 touchdown. You bet 2 touchdowns. You bet 150 all-purpose yards. Hell, you bet him to throw a passing touchdown. Deebo would absolutely destroy this team. So it made me feel very good that when he had the whole thing going on where Deebo's like, oh, just give me the damn ball. Give me the ball. We'll be fine. There's no problem. Just give me the ball. The next thing you know, we're playing against him on Thursday Night Football, and he drops that pass, and he's got his hands up like this, and the Niner fans are booing him, and then they turned on him. I'm like, wow. After all these times where we got tormented by this man, we're the reason he's no longer on the team.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Man,
I thought they get something like, a 5th rounder.
And I think this is reasoning the Commanders won the trade. The Niners didn't get anything. Well, I mean, Deebo had a rough year last year. Injury concerns. People are calling him washed now.
He's also fat.
The thing with Deebo is you're getting the name behind him too. Like he's a well-known wide receiver. He's kind of a star in his own way. He can be that slant guy in the middle and you pair him up with Terry McLaurin. I think that's a solid duo. I think Jaden Daniels, this gives him another weapon. I would love the Commanders to go out, maybe land a rookie too, to add to that. I think it would be cool. I maybe get a solid defender because the Commanders, man, I say this was a win away from making the Super Bowl. Like this Commanders team was the shocker of last year. And I brought this up with Danny too in the past. Like CJ Stroud had a rough sophomore year. I'm kind of worried about that with Jaden Daniels maybe taking a step back. I don't think he will, but you know how you don't let him do that? You keep providing him weapons. They just got him Deebo Samuel for a 5th round pick. The 49ers, on the other hand, what are they going to do? I think they could be in the market to sign or but draft a rookie wide receiver. Make a star out of someone.
Deebo is on the decline. Deebo will ask for money sooner than later. Deebo can't be man coverage. He's out of shape. As a Giants fan, I'm not worried about this at all. You say that till you play against him.
I don't like.
I've learned from experience. It is not fun. I
get why you wouldn't be worried too, because you do get to play him twice a year. But like Deebo Samuel, I think the thing about this that is good for the Commanders is they add depth to a position that I think they could have used a lot of last year because their main guy is Terry McLaurin. That's about it. You think of the other guys they have, they're kind of more unproven.
You had Olamide Zaccheaus and De'Ami Brown and Noah Brown. Yeah. Good assets, but you didn't really have a significant number 2.
Not like superstar caliber, not stars among the wide receiver too. Yes.
Now you have your Nakua Cup type duo. Your your AJ Brown, Devontae Smith type duo. Like you have your guys now. Hell, you have your no, I'm not counting Olave. You have your Evans Godwin type duo.
I like that. I like that comparison.
You have a duo now. You don't have just one guy you could rely on.
This could honestly be the comparison of based off how Debo played last year, DK and Tyler Lockett in Seattle.
Oh,
But
Christ, no.
I think Debo Samuel's going to have a solid year this year. I think he's going to get fed.
Speaking of, good riddance, Tyler Lockett. Good riddance. Yeah. Get out of my division. Good riddance.
I think
the division is crumbling in front of my eyes, and I love it. And then I saw we gave Tutu Atwell $10 million.
And yeah, Matthew Stafford staying in there, but they're getting rid of Cooper Kupp though. And
yeah.
Where do you think he's getting moved?
That's a good question. And honestly, I think we may as well just it sucks that it's gonna hit me like a brick coming off a wall falling onto my face when it does happen. But my top suitor is Buffalo.
Yeah.
I think the Bills Josh Allen would kill to have a guy like Cooper Kupp on his team.
I think, this is going to sound very biased, but I also like the Steelers fit. You know why? In all seriousness, the Steelers need a level-headed wide receiver to maybe be a solid veteran to lead a young wide receiver room.
I swear to God, if you get Cooper Kupp and you ruin this man, Mike Tomlin will need to be publicly executed in the right outside the Allegheny. Because if you make Cooper Kupp a diva, that's a problem.
Could you also see Cooper Kupp going to the other side of LA to the Chargers?
Yeah, I could see that. I think Herbert and Kupp would work well together. My top suitor is Buffalo and Baltimore. It was Washington until they got Debo, which I did not expect.
Yeah, this one came out of nowhere.
Green Bay could potentially be a possible suitor.
I really like this. For some reason, just looking at this Debo Samuel graphic of him on the Commanders, I like this actually.
It looks so much nicer than the stupid burgundy and gold or the red and gold. Ugh.
I think he's going to fit well in Washington. Moving on to our final NFL topic before we move on to NHL trade deadline chaos and another NBA tidbit. Free agency is beginning on March 12th. So you think about after all that stuff we just talked about, they're not even free agents. Only two of them were. Yeah. Joey Bosa and Davante Adams. Free agency is officially starting. Legal tampering, I think you said that's
March
coming
10th.
up. March 10th. And then March 12th is the official. They can sign. So we'll be seeing news. Legal tampering happens. We'll know when people are actually where they are going, but they won't be officially signing until the 12th. Your top guys are now Davante Adams, Stephon Diggs, Joey Bosa, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper. Those are Spot Track's top 5. I don't like how Chris Godwin is number 6. Brandon Cooks, top defender, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack. They have Deontay Johnson really high. I don't like that at all. He's not going to make much in my
What a terrible free agency class.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
No, I don't think it's horrible.
I mean, on the offensive side, it's brutal. Defensively, you've got guys.
Yeah. Your top offense. Devontae, Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin. Those are the 5. Defensively, go into that really quick. Your top 5 are, as it loads, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Harold Landry, all outside linebackers, Vermont Jones, defensive end from Seattle, and Hassan Reddick, outside linebacker of the Jets. You also have
Byron Murphy is another one.
Chavarius Ward,
Cam Bynum,
DeMarcus Lawrence,
Josh Sweat.
Could I interest you in a DJ Reed, a Justin Reed,
Ram,
a Josh Sweat?
Where's my card? Where's my card?
Byron Murphy. I think Javon Hargrave's in here as well somewhere. I think I saw. Stephon Gilmore still out there. He was traded for.
Take my card. Take my money. DJ Reed to the Los Angeles Rams. I need it more than a Bronx guy needs crack cocaine. I need this man on my team.
I also want to look really quick at the running back situation because running backs seem to fly really quick. We saw Aaron Jones last year flip from Green Bay to Minnesota.
Speaking of running backs, we forgot to mention Saquon Barkley breaks the bank this offseason.
Yeah.
$20 million a year.
So I'm looking at this running back class really quick. Congrats to Saquon, by the way. Aaron Jones is top guy. Raheem Mostert, Jamal Williams, Najee Harris, Jeff Wilson, A.J. Dillon, and Nick Chubb. For some reason, I know there's been rumors that Najee Harris is leaving the Steelers. I'm going to turn this into a little Steelers talk for about 5 seconds. But the rumor is there's people linking the Steelers to Nick Chubb. honestly, like I'd love a Nick Chubb healthy coming off of a iffy year in Cleveland. He makes the jump to Pittsburgh like we kind of saw with Aaron Jones, Green Bay to Minnesota. Do I see Nick Chubb as the guy to do that? I don't think so. He screams career Cleveland Browns. I know the fans love him. I know he loves the city of Cleveland, just hearing these interviews. But Nick Chubb, you pair him with a Jaylen Warren, I think that's a very solid running back duo that could replace a Najee Harris. If Najee Harris goes, because there's people thinking he will be back. I don't think so. I think the Steelers are going to let him test the market. I've been saying all year, Najee Harris to Dallas. He screams Dallas Cowboy, in my opinion. But before I get into some of my hot takes, are there any players that kind of stick out to you free agency wise and maybe like some surprises?
Byron Murphy.
Yeah.
Les Snead, get your ass on the phone. Drive your ass to Minnesota. You walk out of there with Byron Murphy. You then go to New York. You grab DJ Reed. You then go find whatever receiver is available. You draft Matthew Golden. There's a perfect offseason.
Yeah. You look at it.
And if Ernest Jones is a free agent, you get him as well. That's my dream offseason. Either Reed or Murphy, Ernest Jones, or any sort of linebacker, and Matthew Golden.
I also look at this offseason, the quarterback situations for a lot of teams. There's a lot of teams that need a quarterback. Pittsburgh Steelers, the Vegas Raiders, the New York Giants, New York Jets. And there's not a really heavy quarterback free agent class. Sam Darnold is projected the most money. That was his previous value because it's off that. You think the best free agent guys available are basically Sam Darnold, Justin Fields, and Russell Wilson. Those are the three names. Jameis Winston as a role guy, Joe Flacco as a role guy. You got Drew Lock, Marcus Mariota, Taylor Heineke, Jacoby Brissett, Trey Lance, and Zach Wilson.
Awful.
Yeah, like it's basically three guys if you think about it, and only one of those guys is still young. Actually, no, Sam Darnold's about to turn 28. He's still kind of young. Justin Fields is 26, and of course, if you want a veteran quarterback, Russell Wilson's always there. I kind of think,
and of course, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is. He's not officially a free agent, but that is going to happen, probably soon.
I'm thinking post June 1st cut.
Yeah, I think when I'm looking at this, I've seen another Steelers tangent here. I think the quarterback situation is better if they bring in Justin Fields back. I think I've been seeing a lot of things pairing Russell Wilson to the Giants.
I've been seeing Aaron Rodgers paired to the Giants.
I think they're going to get a veteran quarterback that wants to keep playing. Because Russell Wilson, in all honesty, wasn't horrendous last year. He just struggled in the final stretch of the gauntlet that the Steelers went through. That's about it. And there's those are the main three. You think Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, and Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold slowly became Sam Darnold at the end of the Vikings' demise. Russell Wilson turned into the Russell Wilson we kind of saw in Denver in the Steelers' demise. And then Justin Fields kind of got the short end of the stick by getting benched for a Russell Wilson that was already told he was going to be starting. But the prizes of this offseason clearly is Devontae Adams now. It was T. Higgins, but he's gone. Stephon Diggs, I'm curious where he's going to go. Joey Bosa, of course. I'm also kind of curious about Charvarius Ward. I've been seeing like the Steelers linked to him. I've been seeing other teams looking for cornerback help linked to him. That could be an interesting one. Tyler Lockett's also there. Brandon Sheriff, guard, last with the Jaguars, could be an interesting offensive line piece. But you know what? Before we move on, we'll each do one. I'll start with you. Is there a random signing that you want to predict right now? Any player, any team, who is it and why?
Well, if you don't mind, let me pull up the Spot Track free agent tracker real fast. I probably should have done that earlier. But yeah, I'm going to I'll let you go first while I get that paired up.
Okay. You know what? We'll do one for our favorite team and then a random one. How about that?
Good. All right. Ram, DJ Reed.
DJ Reed. And that's your dream? That's your dream?
Oh, the dream is Byron Murphy.
Okay. But think DJ Reed.
I will gladly settle for DJ Reed. Yes.
So I'll start with the Steelers. My dream, I would love them to bring in a top corner. I know like Carlton Davis, Charvarius Ward. Who would I prefer though? Honestly,
I think Ward's out of the question for us. That's why I settled for Murphy.
I'm going to say Charvarius Ward because the Steelers have money. That's my dream. But if I want a role guy, I'd honestly be all in on Nick Chubb for some reason. I think he'd be a great veteran. And it's that might be honestly my hot take too, because no one's really talking about Nick Chubb. I think the Steelers are going to be all over that because I think Najee Harris is gone. But I'll
That's
give my
not too
bold
much of a
prediction.
hot take. Yeah,
I'll
that's
give my
not that
bold
much of a hot
prediction.
take.
Najee Harris to Dallas. I think his Steelers tenure is over. It screams Jerry Jones wanting to make this happen. I just can see it. He's also, I think, from the West Coast. I could see him going out west, but I had got Najee to Dallas pretty early as well. I think it's going to happen quick.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to throw out a really bold prediction. The first signing of free agency will be Dre Greenlaw to the Atlanta Falcons.
You know what? I'll give my first one as well. You're going Dre Greenlaw?
Yeah, to the Falcons.
I am going to go Khalil Mack.
I can see that too.
Khalil Mack, because I think teams are going to be all over him in legal tampering period on the 10th. He'll be signed by then, and it will be officially announced on the 12th and the contract will be signed. And you know what? Throwing out a team previously with the Chargers. Let's see here. I think he stays on the West Coast just for fun. You're going to hate this. San Francisco.
I'm not surprised.
But yeah, anything else on the trade deadline? NFL free agency before we move on really quick?
No, sir.
So today, NHL trade deadline happened. We're going to try to get this done pretty swiftly as we're kind of nearing an hour.
No worries. This is one of my fortes. So I'm going to take you through this as simple as possible. The chaos has begun, and it started a couple of weeks ago with one of, if not the biggest trades in the history of the NHL. Colorado Avalanche standout winger Mikko Rantanen was traded to the Carolina Hurricanes for Marty Necas and Jack Drury. Since that trade, Martin Necas has been absolutely phenomenal for Colorado. Absolutely phenomenal since he got to the Avs. And he has been, my dad is a Colorado Avalanche fan, so I've heard him talk about him nonstop. It's getting to a point. In 14 games, he's already got 15 points. He's pretty much averaging a point per game, and he just got to the team. Fast forward to this for last night. Fast forward a few weeks later. The New York Rangers my hockey team, the New York Rangers, are in talks with the Vancouver Canucks and acquire former New York Ranger, is back with them, JT Miller, for, I'm pretty sure it was center Philip Hedl, Victor Mancini, and the Rangers got 2 other prospects. Good trade. But the real chaos started last night. There's a team out in New York that had just suffered back-to-back blowouts to the Blue Shirts, and that team is the New York Islanders. And the Islanders took a look at themselves in the mirror, and they said, listen, we can't keep these guys for much longer. They're rentals. We need to sell them off. We're going to sell at the deadline. So what did they do? The Islanders went out, and they have this 30-goal scorer. His name is Brock Nelson, and they traded him to the Colorado Avalanche. That trade happened at about 12:30 a.m. last night, by the way.
Jeez.
Right before I went to bed, I saw this happen. For a first-round pick in either 2026 or 2027, a conditional 2028 third-round pick, and the Avalanche top prospect. So they got a giant haul for Nelson, which was a great move for Colorado. I think Nelson is a great guy, and if you're truly serious about going to win the Cup this year, that's the trade you go out and get. But not as crazy as what happened earlier today. Remember how I said Mikko Rantanen got traded to the Carolina Hurricanes?
Yeah, now he's a Dallas Star.
To say that he, as a Carolina Hurricane, was a train wreck is an absolute understatement. The guy was, I watch hockey nonstop. The guy was lost on the Hurricanes. Lost.
Yeah.
With the Hurricanes, 13 games played, 2 goals. 2 goals. 4 assists, 6 points, a -3. He had more penalty minutes than he had points. Do you know how embarrassing that is? Carolina then said enough's enough, and they traded him to the Dallas Stars for Logan Stankoven and 2 first-round picks. Now, if you're Carolina, I'm thinking to yourself, how the fuck do you not get Wyatt Johnson? Wyatt Johnson for Mikko Rantanen 1-for-1 is even a fair trade. Maybe you get that first round pick, whatever. Those were like the truly blockbuster moves that went down until 3:00 hits. And I check my phone and I say, yo, the Bruins just traded Brad Marchand. And I'm like, what? And then I see who they traded to. They traded to the team that knocked them out the last 2 years. The Florida Panthers. The Florida Panthers. Listen, trading your captain is one thing. You don't trade him to your division rival. That's like, God forbid, the Penguins trading Sidney Crosby to the Flyers.
He's also not teammates with Tkachuk.
Yeah. That's going to be awesome. I can't wait to watch that circus. But yeah, I mean, and then they decided to trade away Brendan Carlo to the Leafs, another in rival trade, and then what's his face? Charlie Coyle to the Avalanche, where they got a giant haul for him. They got Casey Middlestat, second round pick, and another prospect. So good moves nonetheless by the Bruins in that remark. But I mean, this was just a train wreck. And then you've got Scott Lawton being traded to the Flyers, where they got a first round, or from the Flyers to the Leafs for a first round pick. The other, I guess you could call a major trade, was involving the Ottawa Senators, and that was the trade of Dylan Cousins from the Sabres to the Senators for Josh Norris. And I know Brady Tkachuk was not thrilled about that trade, but other than that, I mean, those were the massive trades, I would say, that happened. I don't want to say it was a bit of a lackluster deadline, but a little bit below people's expectations.
Yeah, I'll bring this up really quick before we move on to the last thing. Penguins, I want to bring up them. They're stockpiling draft picks. They got a lot of draft picks. This is a team that Kyle Dubas has been getting a lot of flack for. Ron Hextall gave him an awful situation. He traded away Jake Guentzel last year. This was the first domino to fall, and the Penguins, they need to rebuild. And then they ended up trading Michael Bunting yesterday, who they traded originally for Jake Guentzel. So this all started last night practically. Vincent Descharnais goes to the Sharks for a 5th-round pick in 2028. Okay?
Bunting to the Predators for Luke Schenn and Tommy Novak.
And they get Luke Schenn, Tommy Novak. If Penguins fans are kind of like, why are we getting Luke Schenn? He's old, he's getting up there, and this is a weird trade on both sides. But then we see it today. The Penguins flipped Schenn. Well, actually, before that, they traded Anthony Beauvillier for the Capitals for a 2nd-round pick in this upcoming draft. 2nd round for this year's draft is nuts for him.
That's
and then Luke Schenn gets flipped to the Winnipeg Jets
for another 2nd-round pick
in 2026, and then a 2027 4th-round pick. And they also, I think, traded Cody Glass to the Devils.
New Jersey Devils, yes.
For a 3rd-round pick, I think it was.
Yeah.
Is that this year's or next year?
Taking a look right now.
They didn't announce it on their feed yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet either. I just know I saw something about it. So
I just know Devils fans aren't happy.
Oh, Devils fans are livid. And I'll tell you why Devils fans are livid. Because, and I'm going to go, this isn't necessarily a rant, but they lose their superstar Jack Hughes. You put him on LTIR. You have so much in cap, yet you can't get him. You can't do anything for him. Jared McCann, Mikko Rantanen, Ryan O'Reilly are right there. Right there. Yet you got Dennis Cholowski and Cody Glass. Devils, I hate your guts, but what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, they made no sense. So NHL trade deadline, pure chaos. And then the final thing, Danny would have loved to talk about this today because this is on our ideas. We would hate to talk about it because it's a terrible situation for a NBA team that has, ever since they traded Luka, they're kind of feeling cursed. Their fan base hates their GM, Nico. They trade for Anthony Davis. He gets hurt. Yep. And now Kyrie Irving's out for the season. I see this tweet when I look up Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving is a free agent this summer. His 2 best teammates ever are on the same team, Luka and LeBron. Are we going to see Kyrie to the Lakers? Is it happening?
I hope not. I really hope not. And I'll tell you what, it gets even worse for the Mavericks fans because you want to know somebody that they still love and adore?
Who?
Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
He got injured last night.
Ugh.
And by the way, a game that the New York Knicks 100% should have won against the Lakers. I mean, they just can't beat the good teams, and it's infuriating for me to watch. I stayed up till 1 a.m. to watch that shit.
It's
1
okay.
a.m. If you wonder why I keep closing my eyes and looking down, because I'm exhausted. I went to bed at 1, woke up at 5:30 to go to fucking school, come back at 1 o'clock, and now here I am just sitting here talking about the Knicks.
It's okay. My team, the Magic, are in a downward spiral ever since Paolo and Franz came back from injury. No one knows how to play basketball besides them.
Yeah, but yeah, the Kyrie injury sucks, and
I hate it. I hate to see this. We literally had to talk about last week Wembanyama out for the season and maybe all half of next year.
Well, I have a very negative attitude towards Victor Wembanyama. I had a 10-leg parlay that went 9 for 10. All I needed Wembanyama to do is get 20 points against the Magic. He put up 16.
Jeez.
Brutal. And I was in a bad bag about Kyrie Irving too, because I'll tell you, let me tell you a story real quick. Okay. 2019 hits, and my Knicks had just went 15-67 for the second year in a row. Horrible. But then we have a bit of a light bulb flashes over our heads. You're looking at this, they called him a majestic forward from Duke University, doing windmills at Cameron Indoor. He's one of the most highly touted prospects. He's almost a lock to be a New York Knick. Zion Williamson. And I was there at the Knicks draft lottery party. I met Latrell Sprewell. I met Larry Johnson. I met Allen Houston. I met Earl Monroe. Great guys, but the night was ruined when we saw that third pick go to the Knicks.
Yeah.
It hurt so bad.
It's okay.
My uncle, I remember the photoshops of seeing KD, Kyrie, and Zion all in Knicks jerseys.
Yeah.
But then you follow it up with the offs. I'm like, okay, whatever. Zion, it sucked. I would have wanted John Morant anyway. But then again, you get RJ Barrett, who wasn't bad. He was a solid asset. Flipped him for OG Anunoby a few years later. You fast forward to that offseason, and I'm seeing all the leaks. And then I'm in my gym class. I think this is when I'm in like 6th grade. Someone shows me a picture on their phone of Kyrie Irving in New York City wearing orange shoes. I'm like, yo, this is actually about to happen. We're about to get Kyrie Irving. And then James Dolan did James Dolan things. Kevin Durant was on the verge of coming to the Knicks, but then Kyrie took him with him to Brooklyn. And since then, I've felt nothing but bad things for Kyrie Irving. But then I got older and I realized maybe this wasn't the best idea, because we probably would not have ended up with the Brunson burner, Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
Would have been nice to have Kevin Durant, though. Mm-hmm. But to see a guy like Kyrie Irving, who was the entire Mavericks team, I mean, the Dallas Mavericks are having the 2024. You know how I said the 2024 Jets were the butt fumble to end all butt fumbles?
This is the Mavericks.
This is the Mavericks version.
And it's funny, they're still in the play-in contention, but I don't think they're going to make it.
How? I don't know how.
Who knows? Maybe they'll shock the world.
It's almost like that Luka trade should have never happened in the first place.
And then the guy they traded for is out. Anthony
Why?
Davis.
What are you doing?
Yeah, it's by far one of the worst trade now.
The worst trade in NBA history.
Almost sports history, too. You could throw that in there. You're trading a perennial franchise guy for...
That would be Bartolo Colon for Grady Sizemore, Brandon Phil. I got to look that trade up now.
Hey, we're going to respect Bartolo Colon around here.
Listen, I love Bartolo Colon. But when you are trading Cliff Lee, Grady Sizemore, and Brandon Phillips for Bartolo Colon, or the Chris Archer trade was just as bad.
Yeah.
You get the gist, though. Worst trade in NBA history by far. Nico Harrison. Oh, Nico Harrison.
Okay, so
that was hung from a guillotine.
JJ, very fun episode today.
Thank you.
We're nearing about an hour. We went through a lot. If you made it all the way here, thank you all for listening. Today, we covered a bunch of NFL stuff. NHL trade deadline today. Kyrie Irving right at the end there. And hopefully by next week, March 10th is on Monday, legal tampering like we brought up in the NFL. Maybe we have some notes of where Bosa, Devontae Adams, Trey Hendrickson, DK Metcalf, who those are trade guys. All those guys, maybe they'll be there. Maybe they'll be gone by then. March 12th, we'll be covering. So we will have a reaction type of thing next Friday or Thursday, whenever we decide to do it. But Tuesday, we will be back, me and JJ. Thank you all for watching. Have a good one. See y'all later.
Peace out, guys.